What's happening is that the doors to people's hearts are opening, that your heart center, your heart chakra, if you will, which spins in greenish yellow, that's the color of grass in the botanical world. That color of grass is that color because of 528. In fact, you would not have 5,280 feet in a measured mile if it wasn't for 528. You wouldn't have circles. You wouldn't have any sacred geometry. You wouldn't have pyramids. Pyramids are intimately constructed based on the mathematics of pi, phi. You wouldn't have pi or phi without 528. In other words, you wouldn't have anything without love.
Welcome back, everybody, to the reading of the Book of 528. This is Chapter 7. This is the second reading that we've done today. If anybody doesn't know that song, shout out to Dr. Horowitz. He's the author of this book. Him and I have a song together off of The Kingdom, which is the artwork you see behind me. Massive shout out to Dr. Horowitz for so many reasons, but also for the blessing on being able to use that song. Let me get 528 back on in here. Shout out to everybody that's live right now. Shout out to everybody on TikTok. Thank you all so much. Shout out to everybody who's here on YouTube as well. I'm very appreciative. I am going to I always start this reading off this way, and especially since there's so many new people here in today, I think it's very important. This is the kind of like dedication to the book. It's like the introduction. It is the first kind of page. And since there are so many new people in here, thank you all for being here. We're going to kind of catch you up to speed as to what this book promises, what this book's message is, I guess. And let's get right into that. Again, thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you for your energy. The Book of 528, Prosperity Key of Love, may be the most important book in history, following the Holy Bible and Aristotle's physics that birthed modern religions and science. The divided worlds of science and religion shall merge from this knowledge of 528, the musical, mathematical frequency of spiritual energy fundamental to space-time. 528 unites every field, illuminating love for the enlightenment of humankind. 528, the universal love constant, manifests miracles from love and makes love miraculous. 528 is responsible for the constant flow of love that heals and sustains people spiritually. The heart of this clear channel of music, 528 hertz on the universal dial, broadcasts you into existence every nano-instant. These revelations compel civilization to build a new foundation in celebration of love that is sourcing, unifying, and guiding all creation. May this 528, key of the House of David, facilitate civilization's salvation through spiritual evolution. We're going to scroll down now to Chapter 7. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for your presence. I'm super appreciative and grateful that people are interested in this. Thank you to everybody that comes in here, or that just came in here. Thank you all so much. Sending you all green hearts. And shout out to the 4 people listening on Spotify too. I know that's not any of you, but shout out to them. Big shout out to them. Let's jump right in, everybody. Maybe this tea will give me some more energy. Let's go. This is Chapter 7. 528 and musical history. You know, there are 52 weeks in a year with 4 seasons, and 52 cards in a deck with 4 suits. If you study the history of the calendars and cards, you may be surprised by the fact that both relate to musical mathematics and the harmonics of 528. To begin, consider the fact that Gregorian monks, famous for their spiritually uplifting chants, sourced our current system of tracking time. Early calendars were less accurate than today's Gregorian calendar. Inaccuracy in the Gregorian calendar, however, stems from what you are now learning. Excuse me. There appears to be an organized effort to keep you and the rest of civilization ignorant about the matrix math that keeps perfect time and makes the universe lawful. Excuse me again. Consider the bizarre concept of a leap year, a year containing an extra day. Did God make that rule, or a mistake? Why do some years have 366 days instead of 365? An extra leap year day is added in February, which has 29 days instead of a normal 28 days. Also, leap years are said to occur every 4 years, except that every 100 years, special rules apply. For example, 1900 was not a leap year, but 200 was. So authorities who claim solar and lunar cycles can be measured accurately measure time inaccurately. They use irrational numbers and man-made rules that are not perfectly patterned or precise, not simple, whole numbers, or even numbers with repeating decimals that are called rational numbers, to predict calendar dates and holidays. In other words, the accepted calendar doctrine reflects pseudoscience and propaganda more than the true nature of math-based reality. Apparently, the Illuminati wants you to believe cosmic forces that consistently demonstrate patterning, cycling, scaling with lawful balance and harmony somehow misses beats. The experts neglect the perfectly ordered mathematics reflected in every strand of DNA and snail shell. Your life is fundamentally scheduled by these people who have bent time and music and engage you irrationally. So next passage, messing with music scales. Besides calendars, Western music, integrating the diatonic and later chromatic scales, also sources from the Gregorian monks in the Roman Catholic Church. This group of religious leaders hid, changed, or weakened the Gregorian chants. The spiritual theology and musicology summarized in this section is important. It begs you to consider how much music and math influences your life, beginning with the spiritual energy dynamics. Consider the force of the cosmos, planets, gravities, electromagnetic, and bioacoustic frequencies. These obviously impact your genetic blueprint at the time of your birth. This impact is like hard data affecting your life, worldview, personal relationships, and, theoretically, even your destiny. Early Christians adopted the ancient Greek system of music that used tetrachords. Tetrachords are collections of 4 continuous notes that descend by two tones and a semitone. This brings you back to considering the sacred geometry of a tetrahedron and water as part of the triune God, since molecular tetrahedrons comprise water. Liquid crystals of water are shaped like tiny pyramids due largely to 528's influence forming their sacred geometry. Recall that water existed at the beginning of time, according to Genesis. Recall also that God's name given Moses is the tetragrammaton Yod-He-Vo-He. That is Hebrew that I could not pronounce. Yod-He-Vo-He, or Jehovah. And that God operates in your body through the tetrahedron structure of the water molecule, H2O, that resonates 528 love, like the Son and the Son of God. This knowledge should make you wonder whether tetrachords involving 528 express God's love best, especially in water. According to the CIA-edited Wikipedia, the disjunct tetrachords have been the subject of much speculation because they do not correspond to the diatonic framework that became the standard medieval scale. For example, there is a high F sharp, a note not recognized by medieval writers. This is very suspicious because that F sharp that plays in A440 Hz, frequency of standard tuning, is the 741 antagonist to Love 528 called the Devil's Tone. This best explains the medieval writers who would not use this note. This F sharp, when played with the pure tone of 528, is energetically, spiritually distressing. If anybody saw my recent TikTok, that's the Devil's Interval. A similar imbalance was created when the Roman Catholic Church instituted T, the 7th note in the modern solfeggio. That is, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, was man-made, not God-made. The T came from C, short for Sanct Johannes, defined as, this is a little excerpt of the definition of T or C. A person of exceptional holiness, formerly recognized by the Christian Church. A person of great virtue or benevolence. A founder or patron, as of a movement. A member of any various Christian groups, to acknowledge as a saint. Here's the one in bold. An ecclesiastical rule or law enacted by a council or other competent authority, and, in the Roman Catholic Church, approved by the Pope. A body of rules, principles, or standards accepted as axiomatic and universal binding. So, C being basically a rule or law enacted by the Roman Catholic Church, approved by the Pope. Let's define that definition a little bit more. This lengthy definition shares a lot of information about the demonic workings of religions that promoted the addition of T to modify God's sacred solfeggio. By reading the definitions in Table 6 carefully, you find a qualitative difference between the first 6 notes and this new one. The original 6 solfeggio definitions seem to offer a musical, mathematical, spiritual solution to the urgent problems facing humanity, courtesy of the Illuminati. These definitions all seem to reference elements in Revelation 14:1, when a new song is sung by 144,000 spiritually inspired people in concert to resolve Earth's most urgent problems. This is the first light in the depths of the darkness, prophesied to get us out of the mess we are in, globally, environmentally, geopolitically, and economically. It's called to 144. Notice there's a distinct difference between these positive messages and this added one. The imposition of T, as well as A equals 440 standard tuning, is based, by definition, on a proposition in logic or mathematics that is assumed without proof for the sake of studying consequences that follow from it. I'm going to read that again. The imposition of Ti, as well as A440 standard tuning, is based by definition on a proposition in logic or mathematics that is assumed without proof for the sake of studying consequences that follow from it. In other words, they instituted it as a social experiment. Well, and then he divides it here. In other words, you're being used like a guinea pig in a genocidal experiment. These consequences intended and generated are clear. The global intoxication and spiritual degeneration of humanity, accompanying the corruption of the arts and sciences by the early Roman Catholic Church with the help of other religions and later the Rockefeller Foundation, is terminal. Extinction is a high probability unless we sing a new song. Let me get some tea. All right, let's sing a new song. Next passage is remedying spiritual suppression, or re, R-E, do, re, mi, remedying. Many people feel the spiritual energy frequency suppression from which everyone suffers. I'm glad I picked up on that. I can turn this frequency down a little bit for you, sorry. Hopefully that's a little bit better. Hopefully it's not taken away too much. Let me restart that. Remedying spiritual suppression. Many people feel the spiritual energy frequency suppression from which everyone suffers. But what can be done to remedy this quandary? The solfeggio re note suggests a solution, promising a return to the Garden of Eden. Resonance evidences how small signals can produce large impacts when vibrating in sync with the larger electrical system. This profoundly important yet elusive phenomenon promises to bring back an earlier state of affairs, namely the Garden of Eden. Excuse me. In Hebrew, the Isle of Eve, or Garden of Eden, is Yavehi, or Hawaii. Incredibly, this is also the Hebrew name of the Creator reversed. So the remedy for the main problem is synchronizing your energy with the Garden of Eden frequency of God. This is best accomplished with meditation, deep breathing, and prayer, as evidenced by the word aloha and its hidden meaning. Most people know the word aloha in Hawaiian is used like the word shalom in Hebrew. It is a warm greeting and peaceful farewell between loving people. Break it down and you see A-L-O-Ha signifies this remedy we can actualize. The A, or first Hebrew letter, Aleph, represents the Alpha, the beginning of the universe, graphed as the two waves of water between and above and below the sixth Hebrew letter, the Vav. The El is the precise heart of the Hebrew alphabet, the lamed signifying love as the tallest letter, indicative of the King of Kings and the true teacher of love, Yeshua, according to scholarly Christian Jews. It precedes the O, the Omega, signifying love is at the heart of the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and ending of everything. The Ha in Aloha signifies the breath of life, the prana, or energy in oxygen, transmitted from the 528 broadcasted sun through 528 resonating molecules of greenish-yellow chlorophyll, sustaining you and love 528 in your blood. Did I say home wrong? Oh, you said home wrong. I'll catch up on TikTok once we get to the end of the chapter. This is the next next passage. The ancient solfeggio keys and their prophecy. You already learned that me, the 528K, whoa, we're going to start that over. You already learned me, M-I, the 528 key means to produce an extraordinary occurrence that surpasses all known human powers or natural forces and is ascribed to a divine or supernatural cause, especially to God. The remaining keys are Yut or Do, the first tone that includes the whole series of musical notes and the entire array of human emotions from grief to joy. That is, virtually the entire human condition resonates in this first note of the solfeggio. This note transmits a magnetic field strength equal to 10 to the 5th power Gauss. Re, the second key, which is Re, as mentioned, broadcasts a relatively small periodic stimulus in harmony with a much larger natural vibration, like God's love for the standing gravitational wave of the universe. This mutual resonance produces a vibration of large amplitude, of enriched significance, profundity, and elusiveness, to back the earlier state of affairs in which God and man vibrate in sync. This sound and its definition is a metaphor for divine human communion. Fa, the fourth key, heralds the 144,000 servants equipped with this knowledge to be present to transact this spiritual business. In Christian terms, Fa represents the bride or body of Christ. For Hebrews, it is the minyan required to raise the dead to spiritual life. For Muslims, it is the faithful servants of Allah. For the Hindus, it is Shiva's earthly army that cuts through the confusion. So, the fifth note has already been introduced as 741 Hz, the F-sharp pitch within the A440 Hz scale. This actually shares in this prophecy as part of remedy for global pollution. Love 528 must extinguish or overpower the dissonance. This is like Christina in The Phantom of the Opera giving her love to the demon, which kills him. Webster's dictionary defines so as the answer or solution to the mathematical problem of what is causing spiritual dissonance and world chaos. Isn't this largely the choice to engage egocentrism, arrogance, fear, and greed linked to the pineal chakra stimulation by 741 broadcast through the mainstream media? If this is the case, the problem is the solution, recognized by raising consciousness about it, 741 being F-sharp and A440 Hz tuning, versus 528, which is C5 and A440 Hz tuning, A444 Hz tuning, and making the choice to love. La is the last key, means articulating using the lips, and sounds required to reverse direction and move toward extreme political conservatism. La also celebrates the power of spoken words, prayers, and hymns, and chants to impact your life and collectively our planet. Your lips give birth to manifested intentions. With the above solfeggio notes and the miracle 6 key unlocking the door to an earliest system of or order, one that advances global solutions and world peace through a spiritually blessed political movement, we will manifest the 528 love revolution. This topic also parallels the true meaning of Israel, where the lion lays down with the lamb, and its homonym is real. Implying peace on earth through love 528 is a reality. This references the prophesied millennium of love resulting from the opening spiritual doors to your heart and the hearts of others like you. Since the needed spiritual transcendence calls for a miracle 6 of divine love is needed to manifest peace on earth as it is in heaven. According to Webster's dictionary, divine love and protection is also generated by the 6-pointed hexagonal Solomon seal, an amulet that features 528, as shown in Table 5, also codes for the tetrahedron structure of water. By referencing the entries in Table 6 from Webster's dictionary, the original 6 notes of the solfeggio compares closely to the overall message in the hymn to John the Baptist, reinforced in Revelation 14, 1-5. This is how we win in the end, and with those who are loving and meek, inheriting the earth through acoustic performances, opening the heart and purifying the pineal gland. This is Revelation 14, 1-5, the excerpt. Then I looked, and there before me was the Lamb, standing on Mount Zion, and with him 144,000, who had his name and his father's name written in or on their foreheads. And I heard a sound from heaven like the roar of rushing waters, and like a loud peal of thunder. The sound I heard was like that of harpists playing their harps, and they sang a new song before the throne and before the 4 living creatures and elders. No one could learn the song except the 144,000 who had been redeemed from the earth. No lie was found in their mouth. They are blameless. These 144,000 sing to secure the messianic age for millions of others. As the hymn to St. John the Baptist, this singing washes away guilt and fear from this polluted world. Much like a water baptism, wherein a person is refreshed and blessed by the infusion of the Holy Spirit coming through spirit water, this hymn, using the original solfeggio tones, is expected to impact the entire planet, uplifting spiritual energy, opening people's hearts to spread love. Do not underestimate the power of this blessing. The infusion of this Holy Spirit, power of divine love, knocked people off their feet during the ceremony in King Solomon's temple. During the opening ceremony, apologize. Shout out to everybody who's still here with me. Thank you. The medieval Latin hymn in Table 7 records that 144,000 humble servants will need to sing in harmony with the loose strings, that is, the logarithmic standing gravitational wave, which will loose throughout the universe this awesome roar of rushing waters. This concept of manifesting change features dynamics reminiscent to string theory in physics. This will be discussed further in Chapter 9. These frequencies are worth repeating and celebrating. These acoustic vibrations are the core resonant frequencies of the universe, and the frequencies used by the Creator to form the cosmos in 6 days. They're essential for creating world peace and prosperity, while vanquishing injustice and degeneration. In the book of Joshua, 6 days of Levitical horn blast, followed by the Ark of the Covenant, used as energy amplifier, shattered Jericho's Great Wall. During this time, the people were instructed to remain completely silent so as not to alter the frequencies of these miraculous sounds. Then, on the 7th day, the public shouted, and the walls came tumbling down. Additional evidence for the capacity of miraculous music comes from Rahab's story. In Joshua 2:21, she is instructed to apply a scarlet line to her window to spare her home, part of Jericho's Great Wall. In 6:17, she, her family, and home was spared because of this action. Considering modern physics, the scarlet line acted as an acoustic electromagnetic heat sink to absorb the miraculous, albeit destructive, energy blasts from the priest's horns and the Ark of the Covenant that is arguably a drum. This battle against the city of Jericho was not the last time these frequencies were used for war. Moving into the next passage, the greater perfect system of sound. I apologize to everybody on YouTube. I just realized that I didn't have this up here. My apologies to anybody watching back in the future. Greater perfect system of sound. There are 2 types of scales commonly referenced in music. 1 diatonic, and 2 chromatic. The diatonic scale is a simple whole note scale missing the halftones, sharps, and flats. You can think of this simpler scale as a piano keyboard without any black keys. Each whole note represents a pitch whose frequency is a whole number. Alternatively, the chromatic scale grants greater shades of music from the addition of halftones, the black keys. Halftones reflect fractions of the whole notes, or 1/2 intervals between the whole numbers. Historically, a diatonic scale with a chromatically alterable B flat was first described by Hucbald of St. Amand's Treatise Musica, who adopted the tetrachord D, E, F, and G, and constructed the rest of the system following the model of Greek greater and lesser perfect systems. These were the first steps in forging the modern theoretical tradition of music. I'm going to take a second and write that down. I would like some more definitions on that part. So I'm going to ask Dr. Horowitz about that. I'm going to call this Greek greater and lesser perfect systems of music. I'm sure I'm not the only one who wanted a little bit more clarification on that. Okay. The simple diatonic scale was used by the Gregorian monks for their spiritually uplifting hymns. The hymn to St. John the Baptist was sung to simply 6 whole tones, the original solfeggio, as the T note was later added by the church. I emphasize the word chromatically 2 paragraphs above because it speaks to the color of sound, that is, literal or fundamentally accurate description of sound. Acoustic vibrations project colors of light based on their math, especially through water, a liquid crystal superconductor of sound and light. Dolphins have been observed to sonically vibrate bubbles from which light emanates. This is called sonoluminescence. I think of it as hydroluminescence, that is, sound vibrates cavities in water called cavitations. These cavitations emit light, a form of spirit, from the energy of Hertz frequencies. This science supports a literal interpretation of Genesis 1:2 that states the sound of God's words on the water created light. Getting back to the conspiracy to suppress solfeggio frequencies, Britannica reported that in the pattern of ancient Greek performance, octaves were missing 1 whole tone. Later, a low A was added by theorists to achieve the following diatonic 2-octave scale. That goes from A, G, F, E, D, C, B, A, and then going back up that again. Notice the halftones are missing in the Greek greater perfect system. Interesting. They are missing halftones. That's really cool. So I'm going to read that again. Notice the halftones are missing in the Greek greater perfect system. Note also that this sequence of pure tones is backwards to the way the scale is today. Oh, it is. So our music scale is backwards than how it used to be in ancient Greece. Recall from chapter 1 that English language and alphabet is reversed also compared to the alphanumerics and energetics of the early sacred languages. Again, it is my contention that the Illuminati suppressed human spirituality maximally by instituting these reversals, thus altering the energy of spoken words and music. This model of dumbing down or disabling humans was recorded in the Bible in Genesis when God confused their tongues to rebuke egocentrism. The ancient sacred languages, including Hebrew, Sanskrit, Aramaic, and Babylonian, touch people's hearts more than their heads and relayed intuitively and instinctively greater meanings, feelings, and emotions, providing the technology for optimal communication and communion. On to the next passage. Shout out to everybody who keeps coming in here. I appreciate you all that are in here, that are still with me listening to this. I appreciate you all so much. I just wanted to say that. Very appreciative. The Greeks and the Gregorians. This spiritual capacity of sound to create or destroy relationships between God and man, and interpersonally between people, was honored by the Greek greater perfect system that was based on ancient Hebrew. This music was made using 7 overlapping scales, or octave species, called harmoni, characterized by the pleasing harmony of pure tones broadcasting the vibrations of whole numbers within the species. In other words, scale patterns reflecting Fibonacci math patterns using different pitches were called octave species and were harmonically pleasing to your ears and uplifting to your heart or spirit. To modify the feel and energy of their music, however, the Greeks and later Gregorians transposed their octave species using different pitches within the greater perfect system. This is much like I recommend now using i528tunes.com. Here, music uploaded in A440 Hz is automatically downloaded and transposed into C528 Hz. The next passage. That was a quick one. Again, thank you all for being here. Miracle Sixes, Hexachords, and Solomon's Song. During the 11th century, Guido di Arezzo, who invented the system of staff notation still in use, determined that hexachords could be built on C. For example, using 528 Hz and natural hexachord, C, D, E, the little caret, F, G, A could be played. The use of notes outside of this collection was described as musica ficta, di Arezzo wrote. That is, fictitious music as opposed to genuine pure tones. This knowledge, paired with di Arezzo's practice in forming natural hexachords, support the assertion that modern music is musica ficta, man-made versus God-made. Completing this practical lesson in music history around 1025, di Arezzo revolutionized Western music by organizing pitches in the singing range in overlapping hexachords. Here again, the number 6 is remarkable as hexachords reflect the musical mathematical harmony and stability of hexagons. The hexagon provides protective power, spiritual security, like the energy provided by Solomon's seal. The amulet, with its hexagonal shape, is traditionally reputed. Excuse me. I'm just going to start that over. The amulet, with its hexagonal shape, is traditionally reputed to transmit protective and restorative energy most miraculously. It resonates the Miracle 6 528 Hz frequency, according to Scholl's mathematical analyses, and is associated with the miraculous manifestations by definition. The miraculous universal healer, love, seals your heart with this radiant source of healing inspiration. The Song of Solomon, a musical prayer, is reputed to do the same. The icon for all of this is Solomon's seal. In A Place in God's Heart, Finding Joy in His Presence, K. D. Rizzo unwittingly expressed this relationship between Love 528 and the sealing of loving hearts with joy. Love is an emotion. The word emotion depicts an electron, E negative, the source of all energy, in motion. The vibrations of your emotions impact different parts of your body, like your heart, musically, mathematically affecting your physiology, neurology, and immunity. By the way, the Song of Solomon speaks of God's intense love for you. Solomon's father, David, loved God most ardently. His contribution of psalms was a result of his divine adoration and devotion. He celebrated his Star of David for everything it provided. The power of Solomon's seal was made known to him by Hebrew scholars and Levitical priests. The latter practiced alchemy and honored the hexagonal ring as a sacred... The latter, being Hebrew scholars and Levitical priests, practiced alchemy and honored the hexagonal ring as a sacred structure. The ancients knew of the connection between sacred geometry and musical math, and they used 528 Hz to amplify the power of their prayers. They were privy to the power of love and the benefit of celebrating God's creative technology and resonance in their hearts. Rizzo wrote, Scripture describes the marital union in Genesis 4:1. How fitting to define the relationship God longs to have with you and me in the same intimate terms, which is in Ephesians 5:31-32. Properly and ultimately, there can be no separate chasm between love divine and love human, and because of this, the marriage bond became the symbol of divine love. Incredibly, Solomon's seal also symbolizes this loving union of male and female elements and energies. Two triangles are merged into one star. One triangle points up, the phallus, the other one point down, the chalice. This is also the structure of water. Two H2O molecules merge the same way the two triangles do, forming the hexagonal star tetrahedron. This normal formation occurs due to the polar attraction of the two triangular molecules, whose elements, hydrogen and oxygen, are the electron donor and receiver, respectively. Place me like a seal over your heart, for love is as strong as death. Many waters cannot quench love, rivers cannot wash it away. That's in the Song of Solomon. So now we're going to move into the conclusions of this chapter, kind of the conclusions of the day. Shay, shout out to you. Thank you for coming in here. This is conclusions. Cosmic laws, the movements of planets, the best music, ways to tell time, and the love in your heart are all related to 528 hertz frequency. And due to the suppression of this fact by the Illuminati, these topics are among the most contested subjects in history. In 1545, the 19th Ecumenical Council of Trent met to settle musical matters and advance sweeping reforms. Their decisions were based on retaliating against Protestant protests. Avoiding more restrictive prescriptions, the council decreed that music was allowed in church, provided it was not base and suggestive. Excuse me. And it ordered seminarians to be taught to chant. Later, Pope Gregory the 13th, I think? Pope Gregory the 13th dedicated his papacy to implementing the recommendations of the council. By the time he reformed the Julian calendar in 1582, using the observation of Christopher Columbus and Johannes Kepler, it had drifted 10 days off of this course. So it's saying that the Julian calendar is 10 days off of course. So much for the accuracy of Catholic dogma concerning math and music. Oh, let me read that again. So much for the accuracy of Catholic dogma concerning math and music. To this day, most of the world uses Gregory's Gregorian calendar, and the original forbidden F-sharp 741 hertz is spiritually suppressing human hearts musically. Hundreds of years after Gregory the 13th, again, I don't know if it's 100% 13th, but Gregory XIII, monks were the only ones with any free time for scholarly pursuits, and they were discouraged from thinking about these secular matters of math and music. The Illuminati desired to keep heaven's most powerfully creative technology a secret. Astronomical, musical math featuring Love 528. Their paradigm of control, based on fear, would have been rejected if word spread that God resided in everything outside of church walls. So leaders of all religions have kept this knowledge secret. Who you are, how you got that way, and where you are going to fulfill your divine destiny is all based primarily on musical mathematics controlling the laws of physics. The subject was considered taboo. God's technology, the perfect circle of sound, that explained, encouraged, and evidenced divine human communion, it was outlawed. The Church of Satan did not encourage this revelation. As a result, the greatest truths in life were suppressed. The divisive card was played by the Illuminati, keeping Catholics and Protestants at war for hundreds of years. The same divisive antics today keep Muslims and Jews embattled. Illuminati leaders of the secret societies advanced through the cryptocracy of Freemasonry, social and religious upheaval, including medieval attitudes toward music and its role in our lives. The Renaissance heralded one of the greatest cultural transformations in Western history. Like the 528 Love Revolution today, the Renaissance aimed to bring the Western civilization out of the Dark Ages. And that is chapter 7. Shout out to everybody that's coming in here, that was listening into that. Thank you so much for being here. I love reading out of this book so much, and I hope any of that was caught. Let me check back to see if anybody has questions. I will reiterate this again. We're going to be able to interview this author following the completion of this series. So if you do have questions, please leave those, and I can write those down, and we can get those answers directly from the author. Thank you to everybody who is answering questions in the comment. I appreciate you. I appreciate all of you. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you to those of you who are joining in here right now. Thank you to everybody who's on YouTube for watching live for both streams as well. If you're here right now or if you're here in the future, thank you so much. We're very appreciative that you're taking the time to listen to this book and that you're listening to it through me. Thank you so much. And that's really ironic that I said me because am I. Lo Son. This book is the Book of 528. It is by Dr. Leonard Horowitz, and if you're interested in it all, you can go on Amazon. You can get it for $10. I hope you can get some rest. Shout out to you. Thank you for coming in here. Let me just I'll stay on TikTok for a little bit. I'm just gonna pop off of YouTube here, and then we can do some more hanging out. But to YouTube, thank you all so much. We're gonna be back here tomorrow, reading chapter 8, which is 528 and space-time probabilities. Probably going to be doing that at the same time. Tomorrow's, I can do that at the same time. Tomorrow is Sunday. That should be interesting. We'll make it work. I'm still going to shoot for 1 o'clock. To anybody who's interested that like to keep up to date on what time we are going, if you're on YouTube, if you hit the bell next to the subscribe button, you will get a notification when I post the premiere for when this is going to go live. Otherwise, I make sure to post on Instagram as well on my story. So please follow me on Instagram and click the bell on Instagram, and that'll give you the notifications when I post stories. And I usually post a story about an hour before I go live to do this, to give some people some time. But thank you all so much for being here on YouTube, and I will see you tomorrow. Peace.